Because I think
Certainly,
Override would probably like look at that and see if he can see himself waving at the cameras in the background.
Right. Well, what you can all hear is you can hear sirens going off, and during the action with the bird and the bazooka going off and all of the rest of it that just happened, it maybe took your attention away from some of the background noise. So you know that you're all aware, really, or some of you at least are aware. Excalibur would certainly be aware that the museum's probably about a mile away from where you are, so it's very close by. I can also tell you that the reporter just said that the break-in happened. Was it 1:30?
1:30 in the morning.
And
Oh, right, my mistake. This is the art gallery. I'm thinking that this is the museum. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's fine. Understandable. And the Override knows from the video footage you looked at the art gallery where you are just now, that break-in happened a little bit earlier on. So the footage on the video, which you caught the guy kind of doing that, almost like that teleport thing. You may remember this guy appearing or disappearing, whatever.
Yeah.
That happened at 12:30. So that was about an hour before 20, not exactly an hour, let's say 25 past 12. So that was about an hour and 5 minutes before the other one. So just to give a sense of sequence. But yeah, if you want to check out the museum, it's not far away. So we've now got something going on at the museum. You have the blueprints gone missing. I forgot to mention that. The blueprints missing from the art gallery of a church. You have the tire treads and you have your own contacts. So what would you like to do, guys?
So the blueprints of a church were missing?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the initial investigation, I believe.
That's right.
Do we know? I don't think we've ever really found a good answer to why the art gallery has blueprints for a church. Do we know that answer?
Yeah, Michelle, the art gallery owner, had said that they are about to do an exhibition based on the older buildings of the city, and the blueprints were donated by the local government, and that's why he's so stressed out about it, because it is the only set of plans for this. And for some, I mean, why would somebody want the blueprints of an old church? You know, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, it's the blueprints to a church in Cross End, which is near the poorer end of town.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like he was basically going to use those blueprints as part of the exhibition.
At the moment, the exhibition is probably about 4 weeks away, so he's beginning to get things in for this new exhibition. But this was one of the early pieces that he got, and but yeah, it's gone missing. It's kind of random death.
In the sequence of events that you were giving us before with the news report that I had just saw, you said it was about an hour earlier. Is that assumed that that's while we were here at the art gallery, or was it before we arrived?
No, this was in the middle of the night.
Middle of the night, okay.
Yeah.
What time is it now? I'm sorry.
I think we kicked off in the morning, if I remember right. So we'll say it's about 12 o'clock now. It's about midday.
Okay.
So do we want to assume immediately that these two are connected?
That seems logical to me.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what was taken, though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we have a couple of different ways to go here. I could kind of monitor the Bird Boys' flight path, and as we head toward the museum, we were called to the art gallery, but we weren't called, or our assistance wasn't requested in the museum.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think, how we interact with sleepers. I assume that they don't see us in our current natural form. They see us as something else, as some sort of optical illusion or something that's just safe for them. Where in their sleeper state, they wouldn't see me as a undead corpse. They may just see me as a goth who's pale or something like that.
I think what we kind of described last time for your guy in particular, well, because it's kind of more a science-based thing, I think you do look really unwell.
Right.
There's a real bad pallor to your skin. You maybe wear shades to kind of mask the deadness in your eye. I don't know. But so I think probably you're more visible than most of the characters in terms of the strange appearance. In Matos's case, he's just a big guy, pretty beat up and ugly looking. He's been a boxer for most of his life anyway.
Right.
But you don't see that gruesome kind of Hulk character.
Does the group of us, it's been a while, so we don't actually work. This isn't like a Suicide Squad type situation where we all come together, disparate people come together for the common good under duress or something. It's almost like Wayne's character, Cassandra. Is she kind of like the umbrella that we all kind of fall under? And, do we kind of, follow her lead, or is she kind of directing us?
Go ahead, Wayne, and tell us
I was going to say that I wouldn't act more or less as a director, since we're all sort of fairly new to this, and we just met each other. So
it's still a democracy?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to operate, although I don't like the idea of an assassin. But, and really, I don't know much about you since I just met you. So
right.
I don't have the intel on you.
Right. What we talked about last time is I'm more of a Dexter type character where, I kind of do my research on who needs to be dead. And then I make them dead. It's less about killing innocent bystanders or thing. I think we actually use that term, and it's more about bad person, gotta kill him. Yeah.
But I haven't had enough time to research who you are,
right,
and all that. So
I guess we'll just let's kind of talk for a few minutes here on the roof and see what our next steps are. We want?
I can tell you just now that as you're looking at your tracking device, whatever your receiver is or whatever, that you can see you could for a little while you could see Bird Boy, because he doesn't go into full flight. He kind of flutters a little bit from rooftop to rooftop, so you could kind of see him bounding off. And as you look at the tracker, he's heading towards the industrial district. So that, for talking's sake, if you were to lose the signal, he's kind of going to that zone just now. Meanwhile, you're hearing more sirens going off, and you're hearing, traffic and stuff like that, obviously because the museum's pretty nearby. Yeah.
I don't suppose the tire tracks give us any real direction, right? It's basically just got on the motorcycle and took off. He could have done a U-turn or anything, right?
I think now I might be getting this wrong, but did Postmortem take a photograph of the tire tracks?
I did.
Yeah. So what we could do, if you were wanting to investigate, you could send that off to somebody. If anybody here has contacts, you could send that off to the right kind of people and see if you could get what kind of bike uses these tires, that kind of thing.
Right.
That would be an investigate role to do that.
Yeah, I personally would not have those contacts, but my assumption here is that Override would, or somebody who is better connected to law enforcement or nerds with time on their hand to investigate these things. Any of those are possibilities. If somebody just wants to, look at their tags and come up with something, I think we can kind of go in that direction.
That would work.
So I'll just bring it up on my phone or whatever I've got, beep, boop, beep, and I'll send the high resolution photos to override and, track these, trace these, where would this lead? Because I think that Jeff is right, more than likely after they burn rubber and get the hell out of Dodge, the track really isn't visible beyond maybe 5 yards.
Yeah.
So it's more like it's a stationary thing that we have to. It's a starting place, but we're not going to be able to, track it. Great White Hunter tracks the motorcycle to this place. It's more like if it's a rare bike that has a weird tire that's only bought here.
Yeah.
We can cross-reference it with owners in the DMV and see if that leads anywhere. But considering all the activity here and the activity, my personal thought is that if we think that the art gallery and the museum are connected, we need to confirm that by investigating the museum and seeing what was taken there at a minimum, even if we're just going to monitor the newscasts and see what was stolen, because we need to be able to kind of, if it's something church oriented or blueprint oriented or something that we can kind of tie together from an investigative point of view, I think that will go a long way to kind of determining our next actions after that.
Sounds good. So what we can say is, shall I do a roll for Chris for an investigator?
Sure.
Does that sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's going to just research it online, compare stuff, have multiple things going off at once to do all the comparisons. I rolled a 3. Let's see what I would be tagging on that. Computers, network connections, data mining, at least +2 there. So we'll say at the moment he's kind of stumped because the role was that terrible. So he's like, well, I'll keep working on it, guys.
It's almost like it could run in the background.
Yeah, I'll keep it running. I'll keep it running.
Yeah, where it wouldn't really need to take his constant attention. He could go with us and participate, so to speak. And, it kind of goes, it's like a toaster. It'll pop up when it's done or something like that. Or he can put an alert on it so it pops up when he's done with it.
Yeah.
Maybe he posted into a motorcycle forum where they...
Yeah, exactly. Under a, fake ID. He's probably got hundreds of fake IDs in different forms where he can kind of, crowdsource a lot of his information and they'll be all over it. Yeah. Great idea.
I'm going to throw an idea out too. I don't know if this will help, but I have media connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, you mentioned... Oh, sorry. I wanted to ask you one more question. I think I flip-flopped the... Which robbery happened first again? Was it the art museum?
The art gallery happened first.
The art gallery was first, yeah.
And then the museum is second. We know what was stolen from the art gallery, but if you have contacts in the media that you can find out what was stolen from the museum, that would go a long way rather than us having to walk down there and walk in and, kind of shine our way into the investigation. Now, if what is stolen connects strongly to the church blueprints, then we do probably want to go down there in person and, bluff our way in, or somehow, Cassandra can use some of her connections or something.
Yeah, I was going to ask if I could actually piggyback off of mitosis, since I do have a cushy bank account and contacts in every neighborhood. I was going to toss a bit of money around to help his process go by.
You can combine power tags, right? If two people are working on it, only one person rolls.
I think if it's within reason, yeah, I think that's good. I don't think you could multi-tag everything, because it could get a bit crazy. But
I mean, at least a +1, I would think.
Yeah, sure. So, and also, Wayne, I'm wondering, does Cassandra have some kind of connection with the museum, with her philanthropy?
Yeah, I could use that too.
That may even get us in the door later.
Yeah. So, I mean, off of mitosis, if he needs some extra motivation for his context or whatever, I can push a little money that way. So that might be able to give him like a +1.
Sure.
Mhm.
And then I can use my contacts.
Okay. Make that roll.
So you're doing what is your move then, Jeff? What are you going for here?
I think would fall under possibly investigate,
Sure.
because basically I'm just calling to ask a question.
Yep.
And I was thinking with the media context, the fact that I was an ex-celebrity / boxer, maybe my contact over at the news station is the sports announcer.
Sounds good. Yep. Absolutely.
And while he's probably not directly involved with this story, basically I'm just kind of looking, maybe he could give me a heads up if he heard anything about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what you could probably also add in there is that you'll take him out to a fancy restaurant.
Right. We'll make it worth your while.
Yeah.
Steak dinner's on me.
Which is, wonderfully vague. We'll make it worth their while. Yeah, sure.
It sounds luring. It's a good lure into who knows what. I'll give you $10 or something. So you've got media connections. That's one. And instead of boxing, we're going to say sports media, sports connection instead of the boxing itself. So that's the 2. And then you've got Cassandra's bonus there.
Okay.
So that's a +3. So that's a good
That
start.
should get me there.
And it's just 1d6, I think.
2d6.
2d6. Oh, even better.
Yeah, that's I rolled a 5, so that would be an 8.
8, okay. So on investigate, just to, I hope you don't mind me just reading these out because it helps me get aware, familiar with them, but hopefully it'll help us all get familiar with it. So on a 7 to 9, that's a success, although it's kind of limited to success to some degree. So you basically, your power was 3. So you had your +1, +2 yourself. Cassandra got your +1. So that's your power of 3. And on a 7 to 9, you can choose one of the following, which is the downside. Your investigation exposes you to danger. The clues you get are fuzzy, incomplete, or partly true, partly false. And whoever or whatever you're asking the questions can ask you a question as well, and you've got to answer in the same terms. So you have the power of 3, which means you can ask me 3 questions or get 3 clues.
So I have to pick the one.
I
think the fuzzy incomplete might be the best because he's the sports announcer.
Makes sense.
So he's probably just hearing about this too. Maybe he's not even at the station or.
Sure.
Yes, that's what I'm using.
What's the guy's name that you know? What's his name?
I've been trying to think.
Bud Light.
Oh my God. Bob Euchre.
Bob Euchre. I like that one. I like Bud. Bud Euchre.
Okay.
Bud Euchre. I don't know how to spell that.
I'll let you take it out of that.
I think it was Uker, Euchre. Because there actually is a Euchre. He was like a famous sports announcer, famous ball player, Bob Euchre.
I'm struggling to push the buttons on my cell phone because my fingers keep hitting the wrong.
I should have given you a -1 there.
But I can get through this. So I managed to call him up. Go through the switchboard. Hey, Bud, is that you? Are you there?
Yeah. Who's that?
Bud, this is Frank. Frank Johnson.
Gee, Frank, I've not heard from you for a long time. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Good.
What's going on?
I was wondering if you could help me out with something. Are you aware of what's been happening? Apparently, the story just broke with the break-in or something going on at the art museum.
Oh yeah, the almost the whole station just left this place like in a crate. Excuse me, I'm eating a sandwich just now. It says, the whole station, they've taken the van out, the satellite van, they're away out, doing the reports just now. I think there's some feed coming through just in the last few minutes. Some bunch of crazies have broken into. I think they've vandalized the museum. Sounds like they've made a right mess down there.
Vandalization. Oh, okay. Do you know if anything was taken? Was anything stolen?
Yeah, for sure, man. There's definitely something. There's a special exhibition on just now, and there's something or things have been taken. I'm not sure exactly. I'm a little bit fuzzy on it. Know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's see. Would that have counted as 2 questions?
You could have just gotten the 3 clues as opposed to asking 3 questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can ask another one.
How about any suspects? Any leads? You're saying vandalization. Does it seem like kids did this?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but it sounds like they smashed up the security cameras outside the museum, you know, because there's a lot of good stuff in there. Not that I'm in any of that history stuff. It's too boring. But anyway, they smashed up the cameras, so I don't think there's anything going on there. But seemingly they've damaged the building or graffitied the building, and it looks like there's more than one person. But I don't know. Obviously, it's not really my field. So something's been stolen, yeah, but I don't know what, Frank.
Okay.
Are you nearby? Are you on the site?
Yeah, that's what we're not too far away, and I was thinking I was just going to swing by there and see what all the hubbub is about.
Cool. We'll say hi to that Angela, that girl. She's a cutie, that reporter. Go and say hi to that Angela for me.
Angela, all right, I will. And if I find anything, I'll bring you in on the scoop.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Nice to hear from you, Frank.
Yeah.
We need to catch up for a beer sometime.
Yeah. Next steak dinner's on me. Well.
Woo! I'll put some barbecue sauce in that. Woo!
All right. Thanks,
okay,
bud.
Okay, my friend, no problem. You take it easy.
Yeah.
And scene.
So obviously I'll share all that. The one thing that did kind of pop at me was the graffiti, which is similar to what's happening here.
Yeah. I took a picture of the graffiti here too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you did, yeah.
So we should be able to kind of compare and contrast on that.
Sure.
All right. So I'll just look at my tracker. I assume Bird Boy is still making his way to the industrial district.
Yeah, you can see it looks like it's going right into the industrial area. There's kind of the industrial area on the map kind of goes towards the edge of the city, and then there's kind of just like kind of scrap ground and a little bit of greenery and nothing after that. But yeah, it's and the industrial zone is a grimy, smoky, smelly place, you know. So, but you can still picking up the signal even now, and he's getting right in there. So yeah, you know it's going to be there.
Okay.
So what do you guys think? Should we head over to the museum?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Cassandra can probably get us in if she knows she has, really good contacts here at, social contacts at the museum.
Okay, doc. So, Override is already waiting for you at the car because you blinked and he just kind of disappeared and he's down there, kind of tapping his shoe and messing about, playing a game on his phone or something like that. So when you guys get downstairs to the car, jump in the car, you're there, drive up the street, you're there in no time. However, the street leading up to the museum itself's been cordoned off, and there's a lot of activity. There's news people there. There's staff from the offices across the road standing, watching out their windows or down in the street, having a cigarette break, watching everything that's going on. So there's a lot of activity round about the front of the museum. As you approach, you can see some graffiti on the walls, and you can see the glass windows or doorways at the front of the museum. If you can imagine a sandstone building, maybe some pillars at the entryway, steps leading up to the entrance, and there's a policeman standing there. They're obviously doing their best to keep the media at arm's length just now, because it's still quite a fresh crime scene. And we'll say that Cassandra spots the museum manager, who you maybe know or have met before, I don't know. But he's on the steps as well, just talking to one of the police just now.
All right, so I'll approach. I'll let him finish his interview with the police, and as soon as they walk away, I'll walk up and say, "Hey, what's going on? I heard over the news this place was robbed."
What's Cassandra got a second name?
Pendragon.
Pendragon. The museum owner is about 5'6", 5'7", roundish, bald head. You can see the beads of sweat on his bald head and down the side of his face. Really stressed looking. He's like, for a moment or two, he's kind of flustered. He's looking at you, trying to remember who you are, you know. And Miss Pendragon. It's lovely to see you. As you can see, we've had an absolute disaster here. Absolute disaster. Crazy, you know. He says, just look at this place, and you can see there's shattered glass all around the front of the doorway. They haven't cut through a door or dismantled a door. They've literally smashed it in, you know.
So this wasn't a professional job. It was.
And you can smell urine near the doorway, and as you look down, you see a kind of wet patch at the side of the door, and it looks like somebody has been peeing at the door, you know. It's just, and then there's some graffiti, and there's kind of some of the graffiti, as you're all kind of having a look at the building that way, you're seeing things like big pictures of teeth and claws, and there's a strip saying at the side, "We will rise," in text, and there's all sorts of kind of crazy designs. And
I'll ask him, and maybe this goes into my investigation roles, but I'll ask him, does he have an inventory of what was stolen?
He's like, at the moment, he says, I need to go back in. I was just saying that to the police, but he says, please just step in the doorway for a moment, and he just kind of ushers you in past the broken glass to get away from all the noise and the din and the sirens and the crowd and all that. And
Actually,
you just, yeah.
I was going to say this. It just came to me because I have a lot of money, and the reason why we should be here is because I put an investment in this place. And because I'm into history and I do my tomb raiding more or less,
Sure.
And for the stuff, artifacts here to the museum, some of the artwork that I come across. So I have an invested interest in this place.
Yes.
So
that I would say that's worth a +1. Yeah.
Yeah. So if the police actually stops us, then that's one of the reasons why we're here. So
because you're with Jeffrey, that's the manager's name. Because you're with Jeffrey, you're fine. The police aren't going to stop you.
Okay.
But at this point, what's happening in terms of all of you guys? Did Cassandra leave the rest of them? Did you approach on your own, or have you got anybody tagging along with you, or how's that working?
I mean, I would have these guys with me. I mean, this is my team of investigators, more or less. I'll introduce them that way.
Well, you can see as he kind of brings you into the doorway, he's kind of looking a little bit apprehensive, really, especially at post-mortem. It's kind of like, who's this really guy in this dark jacket? And next
Don't worry, he's tubercular, but it's okay. He's with me.
Next to him's a young guy, and he's got a little beret on. He's standing with his phone. You know, he's like, he's kind of, he obviously wants to ask you the question, Cassandra, but he's not sure how to phrase it. You're like, who are these strange looking?
This is the worst A team ever.
And I'll say, this is my tech expert. I'll point at Override. this individual here, he's good at finding things that most of us would overlook. He's and I point to postmortem. And this gentleman here will do all the heavy lifting. I point at my toasters.
He kind of glances. He glances for a moment because he just had a feeling that it looked like that guy's one arm was shorter or longer than the other, you know. But he thought he must have been. He's just too stressed. He doesn't really know what's going on. But he's reluctant. He's reluctant to bring all, you know, 4 of you in. Sure. But he does, because he knows you and he knows how you've invested, and he knows. And he says, "Oh, please come this way." And he kind of subtly says to the rest of them, kind of directs us to the rest of them, but please don't touch anything, you know. The police are still investigating. And as you go into the entryway, you can see, you know, there's maybe a charity box for any patrons that want to give a little bit extra as they leave the museum. It's been knocked over. The money's scattered on the floor. The money's not missing, it's just scattered on the floor. It's broken. So it looks like somebody's come in the door, smashed the door in, and just, you know, booyah, let's go. And
it's kind of like that scene from the 1989 Batman where the Joker runs into the art museum and spray paints all over the place but doesn't really take anything.
I'm too young for that. I don't know.
Shut up. I'm too young. I was just a pup on my daddy's knee when Batman came out.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of like that. There's not too much graffiti on the inside of the building, I've got to say. It doesn't seem to have carried on inside. Maybe it was something that was going on while the break-in was happening, or maybe it was an afterthought. But it seems more. It looks like a train's running the front door. That's what it looks like. It
looks like it's. I'll probably just mention this out loud, that it looks like all of this, the spray paint and everything like that, is meant as a distraction, meant to look like a mob of amateurs broke in. But we gotta press forward to see what actually has been stolen.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
I like the way your Cthulhu-esque sinister thinking goes.
Roll a spot hidden.
Yeah, roll a spot hidden. So you can see as you in the entryway, and this is partly going to answer your question for Jeffrey for you. You can see there's police tape around. There's about 3 or 4 steps up, kind of marble stairs, and in the kind of entrance or foyer is an area that they would normally, you would know this, Cassandra, they would maybe put a special display on. And you can see there is a special display being set up. There's a glass case in the middle which has been smashed, and it's surrounded by the police tape. And he said, he turns to you and says, I need to get my team on it and make sure we've taken inventory. But as far as I can see so far, it's just our one item that's been stolen, and it is the special item that we were showing right in the middle of this display, which was donated to us for this. So he said this is just an absolute disaster.
And what was that item, sir?
He says, well, it was a special head, a figure, a head, a bust, a head that was donated by a professor who, he says, this is the first time, at least to my knowledge, that the professor's ever donated the item. And why on earth they would want this item, I don't know.
But what was it? I mean, what was it a bust of?
It's a bust of the hunter. They call it the hunter or Hearn, some people call it. But look, could I just leave you for a few minutes? I need to go into the office and check with the team because they're making sure nothing else has been stolen upstairs. Okay. I'm really sorry. I'll be back with you in a few minutes. And he kind of scuttles away, you know.
So usually when there's something displayed, there's usually a placard or something for the museum patrons to read.
Yes.
What was that next to this item? I want to read that.
I'll turn to Override to see if you could cross-reference this Hearn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
And the professor associated with it.
Right.
I'm going to put up for you displays kind of hanging a little bit in bits, but the main panel, can you guys see that?
No, not yet. Okay, wait.
Okay.
Hearn the Phantom Hunter, who may originally been keeper of the forest, is probably a local manifestation of the wild huntsman myth known throughout the world. Doomed to hunt forever, Hearn is said to ride at night, especially during storms. He wears horns, rattles chains, and occasionally appears to mortals. If he does, it is unlikely they will live to tell the tale. He himself is a force of nature, the wild incarnate who cleanses the land from all who impinge or destroy upon the wilderness of the world. So that is Hearn.
Yeah,
and so I assume that...
oh, sorry, go
The
ahead.
City Museum is grateful for this kind donation of this head of the current exhibition by Meredith Goodfellow, a stream scholar of folklore and legend. The head has rarely been seen in public, so I guess the bust that we're looking at is in the lower right-hand corner.
That's right.
Of the paper, and so that's also a little bit more information for Override. Meredith Goodfellow.
Okay, he gets onto that and checks that out. So you can see in the actual, if you imagine one of these panels that come out in any kind of display and they've got all the elements, so that's what you're really seeing in front of you, all the different elements.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What time of year is it?
It's October.
Okay, this makes sense. Because the wild hunt tends to take place in and around right before Yule, which is late November, early December.
Mm-hmm.
But it can also happen around Samhain or Halloween as well.
Well, we're in late October, so we're not quite on Halloween, but we're getting there.
Okay.
So the picture, as Bill said rightly at the bottom right hand, that is a photograph of the actual head itself. And then the other things are legends. And so, for example, on the top left, you've got Herne the Hunter, Horned God, Lord of the Forest. And what the display seems to be showing you is different variations of the same story,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right to say that that's the head in the bottom.
Yeah.
So we have a head missing. We have blueprints missing. We have tire marks. We have a name of Meredith Goodfellow. Override says, guys, I've got an address here. He's a retired, it says he's retired. He used to work for the university in the city, but I've got an address. He lives in the old town too. He says, hold on a minute. It's about 2 miles away from here.
Okay, I'll stick around to see what else has been missing, if anything similar to this or connected to this has been missing.
Absolutely. So the camera kind of pulls away, and we see Jeffrey in the office. He's talking with staff, and he's sending staff going, and he's on the phone, and he puts the phone down. He grabs a handkerchief, and he's patting his face and all the rest of it. And then he comes back to see you. He says, "I'm sorry, Miss Pendragon. I'm sorry." He said, "Thankfully, it appears just to be this one item that's gone."
Okay.
He said, "Upstairs is fine. It's not been touched." He says, "But it's absolutely disgusting. It looks like somebody has done the toilet in the back of the building in here. I don't know what kind of vandals or scum have done this, but this is absolutely revolting."
I understand. We're on the case. We're gonna, at least I'm gonna have my team here try to track down the culprits. In the meantime, and I'll grab my phone and I'll make a call for like a cleanup crew and somebody to replace the windows and fix up the place and clean up the graffiti and everything like that. I'll have a team come in and do the cleaning, so you don't have to worry about that.
He's taken aback for a moment that you're just suddenly, I mean, obviously the police will keep the crime scene part, and that won't be allowed to be touched. But he's like, I'm so grateful, and he takes your hand in his two hands, and he's like shaking your hand, like desperately, just glad for some good news. But then in the next second, his face falls again. He goes, "How am I going to tell Mr. Goodfellow the news?"
Don't worry about that. We're on it, and we'll, if needs be, we'll tell him.
It's her.
Or her. We'll tell her.
It's Meredith.
Meredith. Okay.
It's actually a him, but anyway.
Really?
Yeah. But I've probably spelled it wrong, so don't worry about that. So he says, I'll need to make the call. So he goes with a kind of look of ashen doom in his face, and he's going to make a call to Meredith to tell him that what's happened. He kind of feels like, as generous as your offer is, he can't really leave that to yourself.
Okay.
But so anyway, he's so grateful for the help, and off he goes again.
And I mean, if you're going to call Meredith, then we'll let you know so you can be able to convey the information back to them, let them know what we've found. And also let them know that you have investigators on the case to try to track it down.
And just then, Override zooms round the corner and says, "Here's the address, guys, if you want it." So he's very relieved. We're in Chris. We're in the museum just now, and the place has been almost ransacked. It looks like somebody drove a train through the front door. There's glass everywhere. There's some units knocked over, and there's a particular item that has been.
I came in and I saw
Did you see the head?
The chart with all the art and the head. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was going to ask. Assuming that my character has already found the address and stuff, but was there anything of note for Meredith Goodfellow that I would have picked up when I did a search for him? Just
nothing unusual, other than very highly regarded, an expert in folklore. He's now retired from the university, and occasionally gives lectures, but he seems quite reclusive. He's not out there that much. He's written about 5 or 6 different books on different aspects of folklore.
For Override, I was going to say, could you do a search on any sort of cults that sort of follow this Hearn or the Wild Hunt or anything like that?
I'm sure I could run a couple searches. It'll take me.
Oh, he's muted.
Whoops! I hit my keyboard. Probably take me just a few minutes to find some basic information, but give me a little bit of time, and I'm sure I can find out more information about that. Am I able to do a search for that?
What is it you're looking for here?
For information on any possible cults or followings of the Wild Hunt, or the what was the name of the
Hearn
man?
Hearn. We'll just say, rather than do a roll or anything, Chris, we'll just say you do a search. There's nothing. There's legends galore. There's lots of different variations on the legends. Some of the legends are Hearn was a man that was hunting. Some of them it's kind of more monstrous. Some of them it's ghostly. Some of the legends it's to do with the fairy or the fae. And there's so many variations on Herne. But what is very clear it's like a mass of information when you start searching the name, is that practically every culture has their variation on Herne the Hunter. It comes under different names.
Okay.
So let me just, for example, give you a couple. The Herne is related to the wild hunt. It's a folk myth. We've got some associated with Woden, or the Almanic Woden. So there's variations. That's from Switzerland. You've got a figure called Theodoric the Great, the Danish king Valdemar Attereg, or the devil. So there's so many different variations on Herne, but it kind of gives you that spine-tingly, mythic feeling that this thread is through every culture, and there's something strange about it, obviously, but there is no reference to any cult that follows Herne the Hunter. In fact, if it's seen as quite a fearful thing, the hunt, you wouldn't want to really be around it.
Okay. So doing a few minutes of searching, I'll go back to Excalibur and say, I mean, unless I have more to go off of, this is the best I'm going to be able to do. But
it was a shot in the dark. So, it might have led to maybe a local group who might be responsible for stealing such an artifact.
I'll keep some tabs and try and put my feelers out there some more if we find out more about it.
But it also may be like there needs to be maybe a cross reference between the church and Herne. We kind of need to kind of see where these two start to overlap, because right now, if they were a Venn diagram, we've got two circles that don't overlap. And, like nature worship, paganism, can Herne be summoned? I mean, we've kind of figured out that there's no real cult or church or any type of worship done. Is there a possibility that Herne is connected to the mist, or could the mist of
well, if you're right, and perhaps he could be summoned, it's not going to be good for this city,
right?
According to this, the myths. So, whatever we have to do, or whatever we're going to do, we have to do it quickly. Just in case.
Do we know that though?
We don't.
We really don't have a ticking clock yet. We really don't have anything that points toward some sort of deadline for Herne, or
right. You're right, but I mean, we are. You said we're in late October, and I mean, if you're going to go by mysticism and things like that, the barriers between life and death are thinnest around Samhain. So, if they're going to summon Herne, and if it's going to be something like that, then perhaps that might be the date that they're going to try to do it, and we might have
maybe the next search is Herne and summoning Herne, and like if we were Googling like Herne and spells, Herne and what's the word I'm looking for?
Right, kind of scoffs and he's like, Google.
His Google alert went off. I'm going to assume that means I'm on the right track.
I couldn't resist it. You feel as if the mist is creeping in as the mystery increases. so let's kind of begin to fade this scene out. Where do we go from here? you've got some different directions you could.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
You kind of look over at mitosis, and he's got this look on his face like he's got a headache, but he's really just trying to think.
Good for you. Who's a good boy? You are.
Give him a round of applause.
Am I the only one thinking this? But I'm wondering, with this evidence that we're seeing around us, with something smashed through the door, and like graffiti outside with the claws and the teeth, is it possible that Hearn is the one that did this? That he's the one that broke in and stole bust of his own?
Or broke out.
Ooh.
I mean, if this, let me ask you this: the glass around the where the bust was, does it look like it's exploded outwards? Does it look like it was smashed sort of inward?
I would like to say outwards just for the mysteriousness of it, but it was actually inwards. It was smashed in the way.
Okay.
Just to freak y'all out, just say outwards.
No, I mean
indiscernible.
Yeah, because if it was, the idea is if it's Hearn and maybe he was somehow stored in this particular bust, he might have materialized and burst out that way. But that doesn't answer the graffiti and I mean maybe the pools of urine, maybe, but not the graffiti.
Yeah, we're missing information. We need to find.
Yeah,
Is it safe to assume that in my temporary absence that Override's already kind of tried to look into security cameras and stuff like that?
Yeah, what happened was the cameras were all broken before the attack. So what you can hack into the feed Override, and you'll see the camera fuzzing out, next camera fuzzing out. So it's been done systematically before. You can see,
on the screen.
You can see in a couple of the feeds some kind of shadow coming over the camera. Like somebody's right on it. Now the cameras are up there, up on the kind of just below the gutter of the roof, so they're quite high up. So you're seeing some kind of activity over or around the camera and it breaking, but you don't catch a face or anything like that.
And also curious, the curator, the person who we were speaking to earlier, are they still near us?
The manager, is Jeffrey. He's nearby. He's pretty stressed out. But do you want to try and communicate with him?
I just had a question, unless it's been asked, if there had been anybody who started working here recently.
The answer's no.
Okay.
They're all kind of staff that have been with them a long time, and some of them have actually now come in. And you see a couple of people coming in that they let in, staff members who are actually off duty, but they're coming in to help out.
Okay.
Okay, I think I interrupted you, Ken, about the...
No, it's fine. So just the difficult question really for you guys is, where do we go from here? What do we want to do? Do we want to reach out to contacts? Do you want to chase Bird Boy? Do you want to follow Meredith's info? The manager, you see Cassandra, just as you're kind of maybe making your way out of the entrance or towards the entrance, you see that he's obviously made the phone call. He looks a little bit relieved, but he's it's like his world's caved in, today. So, but he gives you a kind of polite wave and a little slight smile because he knows you're helping.
Is it time to split the group yet?
If you want.
Because I think I want to take off after Bird Boy and see where that leads. Because remember, someone had a vested interest in seeing who showed up to investigate the crime. And I'm kind of surprised that there's no one here, but it's a little bit different MO. The other one we actually saw, like the transposing, the guy who kind of shifted and was teleporting in a way, and this just looks like brute force in a way. So they may be connected, but they may be two different people performing the snatch and runs. But I think that I'm going to make my case for going after Bird Boy. If somebody wants to, while I'm doing that, if someone wants to come with me, fine. Or if y'all want to go interview the professor, or we got a couple of different alleys here.
I think based on the group, it would probably be more likely that I would tag along with you.
Okay.
Since the two of us basically kind of came to this group together, and the other two seem to have a much longer history with each other. And if we're dealing with something tech-wise, I might be able to help out with that some more. So,
and if we're dealing with something dead-wise, I can make it dead.
I'm sorry, tech-wise.
Yep, sounds good. So you guys going for Bird Boy then? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And Mitosis and Cassandra, are you going to follow the whatever the guy's name is? Meredith, good fellow.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I'm actually up for either one. The Bird Boy does seem a little more pressing.
We talked to him, and I'll look into Goodfellow.
That's fine.
Override kind of holds up his smartphone and he is like, if Bird Boy's going anywhere, we'll know it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. All right, then I'll tag along with you, Cassandra, if that's all right.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so
we're going to put you to the test there, Ken. Splitting a party.
See, this game's good for this one. So we see Postmortem and Override. Are you guys taking the car, I guess?
Sure.
Whose car are we taking?
I think you were all in one car, were you? I can't remember.
Maybe I drive a hearse. Who knows? They gave it to me as a parting gift.
Ghostbusters.
Did they give it to you, or did you take it?
It's such just details. I own it now.
Well, you weren't actually in a mortuary. You were in
I wasn't.
A science lab.
It was like Ion, Helix Labs.
Yeah.
But we'll just Cassandra has a car, or she has a driver in a car. We could, I don't want to take a cab and be that obvious. So we'll assume that, Override has his driver's license, or I have a vehicle or something. We'll just throw it in there. And
so, Cassandra, are you calling a cab, or are you getting your driver to come around for you?
I'll get my driver to come around. I have a Tesla. So
a cab is so.
Tesla. As a matter of fact, because I have a Tesla, I don't need a driver. I'll just have it show up.
Very good.
It goes 20 feet and runs into a.
This is the future.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know if
it runs into a fire hydrant. And
even though I have my license, I'm a hipster, so I'm actually riding around on a Vespa.
Oh, all right. God. Fine, I'll steal a car. Who cares? I know how to hotwire stuff. Jeez, fine.
Going in a Vespa for Override is like a snail's pace, but that's okay. So what we'll do is,
I like to take it a little slow. Okay, I go fast all the time.
So is this how you chill out on the way? You go in the Vespa?
Yeah.
Okay, doc. What we'll do is we'll seeing as we're in the old quarter and Meredith's there, we'll follow that storyline first.
Sure.
So Frank, as you're sitting in the gorgeous Tesla car,
cramped and with your knees up to your chest,
you can't start rubbing that arm again and kind of just pulling it, trying to ease it back into place because from that stretch. Cassandra glances over, reflecting for all of about 2 seconds how he caught her in midair as she tried to launch herself with a bazooka. And for Frank especially, the old town is really something else. It's like a different city here. old stone buildings and cobbled streets with wrought iron street lamps make it narrow and cramped, but full of class and atmosphere. Landmarks of the city's history are everywhere you look, from pompous historical estates to neatly trimmed gardens and well-preserved townhouses where someone important once lived, or maybe even lives now. And as you travel there, it doesn't take you long to get to the address, and you arrive in an area that's kind of almost heading towards Cassandra's district. It's in a little rise on a bit of a hill or a slope going up to a higher vantage point in the city. But there's some smaller cottages and smaller houses. You're away from some of the mansions, although occasionally there's one or two dotted around. And you approach this almost out of time thicket hedge and a picket fence, and there's some trees. You can see a pear tree and maybe an apple tree in the garden, and there's this little cottage which the roof just kind of peaks above all of the foliage, and you've arrived at your destination. So go ahead and tell me how you guys want to approach, or do you just walk up to the door and knock the door?
Yeah. Well, I'll have a quick look around, not wandering around or anything like that, but just glancing about and seeing if there's anybody sort of hiding in the bushes somewhere, you know.
Just for the fun of it, give me an investigate roll.
All right, this is just going to be basic because I wouldn't have any proper tags for it. And that is a 7.
Okay, I mean, you can see there's some garden ornaments and works of art, if you like, in the garden.
I look to my sisters and I say, keep an eye out on those garden gnomes.
You see something that looks like elven figures and not fairies as in modern day, you know, kind of Disney, you know, that kind of stuff.
I know when we talk about fairies, I'm thinking of the she.
Yeah. So there's that kind of stuff, and you can see that his love for all of that is spilled out into his garden. It's almost like a little sanctuary space. You know, it's not tiny, but it's not huge either. And you're not sure, but you think that you spied on the way down the drive. It looks like a figure in the back without a head in the back garden, surrounded by some wooden framework and vines and all that kind of thing. So you can see that.
Is it a male statuary figure?
It looked pretty robust, yeah. It looked pretty muscular. So at that point, you see that somebody is looking out this. There's the doorway and two little side windows, and you can see that somebody's kind of moving back and forward. So you've been spotted. So you haven't really got time to go and check it out. But and the door opens a crack as you approach the door.
Mr. Goodfellow, I presume.
He doesn't open the door any further, but you hear a nervous voice. Yes. Who is it? Who is it?
Yes. My name is Cassandra. Cassandra Pendragon. I was just down by the museum. I don't know if you've gotten a call from.
Oh my goodness! Yes. I just spoke to Jeffrey. I can't believe it. It's an absolute disaster. It's a disaster. A disaster. Yeah,
we are here to investigate. I'm pretty sure he told you that he had a team investigating.
Yes, he did. He did. Yes.
Can we speak to you just for a few moments? Just gathering information at this point.
So the door goes, and he sees mitosis, and then the door goes like that again, and he goes, yes. Well, he did say, please come in, and he opens the door.
Okay.
You can see he's obviously nervous, and I don't want to share that. Give me a moment. I'll try and get you a picture if I can.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's kind of flustered. He's quite. Oh Lord. Let me see if I can get rid of this. Okay, that's better. And I'm trying to find a picture of him for you. Hopefully you'll see that in a moment. So,
oh, epic mustache.
He, as he twitches and he's very nervous, and you can tell he's not just nervous because of what's happened with the head, but as he twitches, his little moustache kind of bounces up and down a little bit, you know, and there's something a little bit mouse-like about his behaviour, you know, the way he moves and his mannerisms. And you can tell he's probably a little bit of a recluse. But he takes you in, you pass a grandfather clock that's ticking away slowly on your right-hand side, and he takes you into the front room on the right-hand side, and it's like a study. So he's please come in. Are you going to help? Are you going to help find the bust? Are you going to help find the head?
Absolutely. That's the reason why we're here. We're here to collect a bit of information. Can you start off by telling us exactly where did you find the bust?
Oh, that was many, many years ago in my travels. I found it in Ireland, and I brought it back home with me. I've studied folklore and myth all of my life, and this has been one of my areas of research, and it's an absolute disaster. An absolute disaster. It's gone. These things are very important and shouldn't be lost. And then he calms a little and he says, I'm so grateful for your help, you know.
Mm-hmm. I see that you seem fascinated by Irish myths, particularly the fairies. What I happened to notice as we were walking up, there seems to be one statue in your garden that seems to be missing its head. Have you noticed that, or did it come that way?
That I had that statue commissioned for the head of Herne, so it rests on its resting place. He says, "Would you like to see it?"
Yeah, yes, I will.
He looks up to Mitosis. Would you like to see it?
Yes, yeah, please.
So he takes you down, back out into the hallway. The hallway leads to like a kitchen at the back, and through the back door, and you see a square garden, and in the middle of the garden, surrounded by that kind of lattice wooden work that I was describing earlier, and vines, is like a plinth with a figure standing with its like a spear in one arm and the other arm on its kind of waist, and there's no head on it, and it's obviously, you can see a kind of shaped area where it looks like the head's supposed to actually rest on it.
Okay.
It's kind of like, you get the feeling like it's the secret garden, you know. It's like you can't really, apart from the brief glimpse you got coming up very close to the front, near the front door, you wouldn't be able to see it, because the whole back of the garden is high walls, fences, and fir trees and lined, so nobody would actually be able to see into it.
As I'm looking, is there like maybe an area where an altar or something like that might have been set up?
No, there's nothing like worship or anything like that. It's you do see some more of the fae figures around about it, but you also see some like barking baying dogs and things like that near the Herne figure as well, which look quite a lot more scarier, you know, than saying that the elven figures aren't particularly, you know,
Nice.
they're not evil, but they're not you know, cute. They're not cutesy.
Exactly.
So he says, anyway, come. Let's. Can I make you some tea? Would you like some tea?
Absolutely. I'll ask him. What can you tell us about her? This particular figure.
He says, "Let me bring you some tea. If you can just go into the study." And he makes you some tea. He brings the tea through, and he's got the little tea leaves and the tea strainer, and he's pouring the water in, and he's doing the whole deal. And you see his hands trembling a little bit as he's making you the tea. He says, "Well, the wild hunt has been one of my my areas of greatest research over the years, and I wrote a book about it. And but it's an absolute catastrophe. It could bring disaster to the city in the wrong hands."
Okay.
But anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Hearn.
And I will say that as I'm drinking my tea, my sleeve will sort of roll up a bit as I'm sipping, and the jewel that I got from Ireland will show, basically. And I'm doing it kind of purposely to see if you notice.
So he begins. He says, "For those who see," and he glances down at the bracelet. "For those who see the wild hunt would be an absolute catastrophe." He says, "It would be the last thing that you saw. And Hearn comes in the wild hunt, and all of the things within miles around, not of purity, would be absolutely devastated." And so many legends are, and he begins to expound the myths that we mentioned earlier about how the hunt is in every culture and every setting, and Hearn sometimes goes by other names. Valdemar, Theodoric the Great, the Devil, some people call him, Alemannic and Woden and all the rest of it. And he goes through the kind of histories of it all. He says, "But in my own research, the city here was built on very, very ancient land in days past. All of the land that you see now before you, even that disgusting slum down the other end of the city and the horrible pollution of the industrial area," he said, "it was probably Indian land, you know?" And I know you're not supposed to say that these days, but it probably was. And they bulldozed it, and they've torn the land to bits and built their concrete. And yes, the old town is beautiful, but we've taken the old wildness of the land and replaced it with our chemicals and our fumes and our revelry and all sorts of things. So that's why I say, if Hearn was to come back, it could be disaster for the city, if you believed in such things."
Is there a way for him to come back? I mean, would it be possible to perhaps summon him or something like that?
He says, "That is a fine bracelet you're wearing, young lady. Is it? It looks quite Celtic in origin. Where did you get it? Can I ask?"
I tell him I got it in northern Ireland.
Whereabouts?
I'd say beyond the pale. I'd say north of like a small town, little township north of Galway.
Interesting. I've not done much exploring there, but the head I retrieved from Southern Ireland. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, this is an interesting piece, and I'll give a side glance to mitosis. I imagine that mitosis knows that you have enough sugar for that, mitosis.
So
he has a little teacup, but he pours like like most of the honey
Yeah.
into the cup.
Yes.
And
He
like a
needs his
drop of-
calories.
and a drop of tea.
My arm's feeling better, actually.
Are you getting it moving now?
Yeah.
You're gonna need it.
The reason why I'm asking is the museum looked like it. Well, the museum wasn't really ransacked; it was vandalized. The collection box where people put their donations, it was tilted over, spilled over, but no money was taken. The only thing that seemed to be taken was the bust. And unless it was another collector who just wanted something to, another perhaps rich collector who wanted it. The only other thing I could think of is perhaps Colton's. And I'll describe to him the spray painting and the graffiti that was left there. Also, I'll mention that it seemed like whoever was doing this wanted to, I guess, mimic someone or something from the Wild Hunt, because they were marking certain areas of the museum as if like a wild animal was marking their territory.
That's disgusting.
It is, but
Absolutely disgusting.
But it seems ritualistic to me as well. So
when you say the words, you said, what was it you said at the beginning? Yeah, when you said that the head was the only thing that was taken, I kind of, his pallor changes, you both notice, you know, that he kind of goes a little bit pale. And he says, I can only hope it's just an art dealer that would greedy for my own possessions, but I would rather it would be that than anything else, he says.
what do you have in mind if it was something else?
Well, I wonder if you could convince him, perhaps, to he seems a little bit guarded, although I could say it this way, he probably doesn't want you to think he's off his rocker.
All right, well, I can use seasoned negotiator as well as glamorous.
You can certainly use that, yes. Especially that bracelet.
Yeah. And wow, I rolled an 11 plus the 2.
Wow. Okay, so in convince, you can talk, threaten, or seduce some, but I don't think you're seducing them. But basically,
I can convince. I'll try to convince him.
On a 10 plus, you can change the agenda to be yours. So effectively, is like, you know, butter in your hands. You know.
Yeah, I'm just. The main thing I want to do is alleviate any of his fears of me thinking that he might be crazy or something like that. And I'll ask him or tell him that any information that you have, no matter how strange it may seem, can help out with this investigation. And if the city is definitely in danger, any information that you can give us.
Well, at that, his moustaches twitch and
as long as he's not twirling his mustaches in front of us.
A bushy eyebrow rises, and he kind of gives a sigh, but not a sigh of frustration, but like of relief. And he goes to his bookcase and he pulls out a big book.
Maps of the world.
And then, just as he's about to, you think, why is he going to open a book on the maps of the world? But you realise it's not really a book, but it's full of papers and notes. And the sigh is almost like a sigh of relief that he's got somebody in his study right now that might actually believe him. And he sighs and rests down at the desk. And just then, the image fades out and scans across the city to a guy on a scooter and another dude in a car. Tell me what's happening with your tracking situation over there, heading towards Industrial District, I guess.
I'm going to say that the beep is now stationary. that wherever Bird Boy was going, he's reached it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of a steady glow or a steady beep. And that's where we're heading toward. But we're gonna pull over like a block or two away. And I'm gonna reconnoiter the area.
Okay.
Before we head, we'll see what the building is. We'll see what the situation is before we take any aggressive action.
Well, I can tell you straight off the bat, you're right, and you're not only in the industrial area. There's just a smell in this area of fumes. Some of these factories run 24/7, and you can even now, even though we're now probably about 2:00 in the afternoon, 2:30 or something like that by now. There's smoke piling up into the sky above,
and it doesn't bother me at all.
And it doesn't bother you at all. Not sure if it bothers Override. He probably.
I've pulled my collar up above my my nose a bit.
Your hipster scarf is,
We can call you guys a hipster team for different reasons. So Override maybe has a distinct look of like Banksy, the graffiti artist.
Sure, absolutely.
I actually do have the image I was kind of basing him off of. Can I share that?
Yeah, give it a go. That'd be cool.
I don't know how.
I don't know if it's the same for you, but at the bottom it says share screen. And if you click on that, it should give you access to your desktop. It's a little bit fiddly, I've got to say.
The way I found works best is if you open the image first in whatever program you're using.
Okay.
And then when you click the share button, you should see a list of your open applications. And then you can just choose your image one, and it should share, rather than, because like Ken, you're sharing your entire desktop.
Yeah.
So.
Let me. I have two images for him. Where'd he go?
Don't put your banking password up either.
While you're doing that, Chris, I'll say that yes, the little blip on your screen or your scanner, or whatever the gadget is on almost like the edge of this industrial area. It looks like a dead zone in terms of scenery or buildings. There doesn't seem to be much there, and you notice an old broken sign heading in the direction you're going as you're kind of scouting around. It says airport, and certainly Override will probably remember, because I'm not sure how your memory is really, but Override will remember that at some point there was an old private airport down this direction, but it shut down some years ago. And it looks like the blip is on that empty land that perhaps is some of that ground, Just beyond.
Is it a wooded area?
No, not immediately, but there are some woods or trees further on the other side of the. There we go. So on the other side of the old airport. That's cool.
That's pretty much what he would like his normal attire, and I had his other, like if he took off his hood, it would be this. Which didn't share yet. Hang on one second, sorry. There.
All right.
He's got the shades there, kind of like the. He can kind of keep his phone in his pocket most of the time and catch like his feeds from his IRC and stuff like that.
Sure, the heads up screen.
Right.
It's like Jarvis.
Cool. Yep. I'll get you to email me that, and I'll try and put that up on your space on the screen. So yeah. So in answer to the question, Bill, yeah, there is some wooded areas beyond that scrap ground, but there's a fair bit of scrap ground.
But is Bird Boy in the wooded area?
No.
Is that where? No. So he's on the edge of the wooded area.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Basically, yeah, it's on the grounds of what would have been the old airstrip or the airport.
Okay. If I pull out my rifle and I look through the scope and kind of glance across the area,
yeah,
and looking, focusing on like rooftops or ledges or things of that nature. If I look in the direction of where I think the beep is coming from or the tracker light, do I see him? Is he outside?
We'll say it looks like. Well, are you climbing up onto the roof? So you're having you going up to a higher vantage point and things like that?
Not at this point. I mean, I'm still kind of fuzzy on where we are.
Okay.
I mean, are we surrounded by buildings?
Yeah, you're amongst some of the warehouses. Some of these warehouses are actually disused, but you're amongst the buildings. But what I'll describe for you, let's put it this way: as you approach closer to maybe within half a mile, quarter of a mile, say, within quarter of a mile of the signal, really you're now on the edge of the warehouses. Where you are now are some of the older warehouses, are more dilapidated. They're, some of the brickwork's crumbling a little bit. It's just, and some of them are empty. But you can see this kind of reasonable amount of space, which is really just a road going down for that almost, maybe less than a quarter of a mile. And there's a fence, some fence work that there's some stuff that's boarded up, and you can see what looks like an old airport warehouse, kind of outhouses.
Okay. So when you say airport, it's like airplane storage, like hangars?
Yeah, there actually was a runway there, but everything is really overgrown.
Okay. If I look on the ground, is it asphalt? Is it concrete? Is it a combination of a couple of different terrains? Like if I wanted to look for a motorcycle track?
You would... There's not a motorcycle track. There's definitely some concrete. There's a kind of old runway. Everything is sprouting weeds, and like there's a tree growing out of the roof of a kind of hut and things like that. So everything is just really in really bad disrepair.
Okay. Let me see.
But what I can say with your with the telescopic lens is that you can see figures moving about. There's activity. There's people down there.
Inside the building or outside the building?
Around about. It looks like there's maybe somebody walking around the grounds and things like that.
And what do they seem to be doing?
Just looks like the body language would be maybe some kind of patrol or guarding of the ground.
Do they seem to be armed?
Give me an investigate.
Okay.
Tell me what you want to tag with this.
Sure. One moment. Investigate. All right. For my tracks, I can use stealth and I can use tracking. So I'll use those two for a +2.
Okay.
And 2d6.
Yep.
7, 8, 9. Total of 9.
Okay. So that's a success, and you gave me it's +2. So you've got two kind of questions or two things that I can give you. Is there anything specific you want me to kind of answer?
I'll take the two pieces of information rather than answer two questions.
Okay. So what you're seeing is there's definitely some kind of patrol. Like there's a couple of guys walking together. One of them looks like he's kind of moving funny, like hopping. Okay. And I meant to say something else. I'll tell you that in a minute. And the other ones maybe more upright, tall and slim, kind of very long neck. But what you spot is you see somebody flying above the airport, and it's not Bird Boy, but it's a male figure with wings, and he's
so he's circling like to be the. It's almost like he's the drone. He's above and he's looking down to make sure that they're not disturbed or not surprised, or he's the aerial guard, so to speak.
Yeah. So obviously it's fairly well watched. What you can see though is, and what you both see without the telescopic lens, is as you are kind of exiting or getting to the end of that industrial buildings, there is lots of graffiti about, and there's all sorts of kind of animalistic stuff. Let me just see if I can pull something up for you guys.
Is it similar to what we saw before? Teeth, claws,
that kind of thing, yeah. That
right.
kind of
animalistic or pagan or transcendentalist or something of that nature.
Yep.
Nature based.
I don't think I've actually got what I was hoping for there.
Your desktop is a mess.
Yeah, but it's a mess.
It's a mess where you know where everything is.
No, it's a mess on purpose because I was putting a lot of pictures and all that out there. Okay, let's forget that.
No worries. I can get a basic, we're on the right track here. We're seeing a pattern here.
So what you do see is some actual wording rather than just the images, and you'll see one saying "We will rise." You see,
we've seen that before.
You'll see like there seems to be a motif, like a claw image, like the claw and like tearing coming off the top of it. The day is coming, and as you're flashing the telescopic lens on the old kind of warehousey type airport building. It's not that big because it was just a private airport, but you spot there's graffiti all over it, and you spot one, "He is coming." So there's this whole kind of almost like anarchistic, revolutionary kind of vibe about it all.
Right. Yeah. How many people do I think are walking around? Do we think it's the two people making a circuit, or maybe two people on one side watching, two people on the other side? I mean, I can't see the other side, but are they circling, or are they just standing or walking back and forth?
Two people making a circuit, one flying. And every so often, the guy that's flying lands on top of the old tower, which looks really dilapidated and broken down.
Yeah.
Am I able to maybe check, to see if I can find any like radio frequencies or anything like that, and see if I can hear any chatter among these guys?
Okay, good shout. Why don't you give me I think that would be an investigate as well, and tag some of your tech know-how. We'll see what you get.
Do network communications.
I'm going to give you a +1 for this because this is pretty easy.
Really, the only thing I think of, I have network communications. I also have computers, but I don't know if that will actually.
Well, I'll give you that. It's pretty straightforward.
And it's been a while since I did a roll. What was it again?
2d6 and plus your 2, so far 2 plus 2.
So 2 additional dice then, right?
No, just plus 2. Just add
just
2
plus
on.
2. Okay.
So you're looking for a 7+.
I have a 6. 3 and 3, yeah.
Okay, you're trying to. The signal's terrible around here because it's the buildings and the zone, and it's not well serviced down here. So,
Ken, so you rolled a 6 plus your 2, so a total of 8.
So it's an 8.
Oh, sorry. Right. Okay. I thought you meant.
Yeah, 3 and 3.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you're hearing some crackle. You're tuning into radio frequencies rather than computers and things like that, and you're hearing some chatter on the radio. Most of it's not really that technical. There's some jokes on the air. There's some banter, and every now and then, yep, such and such clear. We're good. We'll see you around at the front and things like that. So it's just basically like CB radios.
What time of day is it?
I think we're now probably saying we're approaching 4 o'clock.
Shit. I was hoping for dusk. I was hoping for, well, it's Octoberish, so it gets dusk and sunsets a little earlier. The days are shorter.
Well, I'm happy to make it 5,
All right. I just basically want some sort of cover if I'm going to make a move toward the hangar.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do it while Bird Boy is taking a break on the air traffic control tower. And, I'm just going to sling my rifle over my shoulder, and I'm just going to wait for what I think is a good moment. And is there an adjacent building I could run to, or something I could use for cover, or is it just a lot of empty real estate between me and the hangar?
I would say it's pretty empty. There's maybe a few old kind of garbage wheelie bins and things like that. So there's maybe some things you could dock between. There's an old ruined, broken down car that's been stripped and burnt out, So there's some items that you could certainly duck behind. But just as you're thinking about that, you hear a bell over coming from there, like clang, 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 clang. And you see a kind of movement. You realise there's 1 or 2 figures that were maybe out in the grass area, and they're kind of moving towards the building. And they're all kind of, looks like they're kind of gathering. And you spot what maybe looks like Bird Boy jumping out, hopping down off of the tower. He's kind of halfway down, and he's making his way down. So it looks like there's maybe kind of a gathering down at the...
Is it building. Like dinner, like a dinner bell?
Yeah.
I will kill you all while you eat dinner. I am not above that. Okay, so they're kind of calling everybody in. Are the guards going in as well?
There's still a guard at the gate, and there's still a guy flying about. He looks like he's going down for a landing, so it looks like he's going to get something. But there's definitely a guy, at least one guy on the gate, maybe 2.
All right. I just tell Override, stay here, and, if you hear gunfire, cause a commercial, shut down their communications or whatever. But I'm going to head for the nearest thing to use as cover. I'm going in.
Okay, well, hey, okay. So before you go flying off the handle, though, is there some sort of like secret code or signal that we should give each other or something like that, so I know if it's you someplace or?
Just listen for gunfire. It's probably me.
Do you know they have guns too?
I don't really care. I'm already dead.
Now I'm wondering, Override, with your super speed, you could also be moving at a rate.
Oh, I forgot about that. I didn't know about that.
You could dot between some of these items, whereas Postmortem would obviously be using the stealth mode. You could be using the speed if you want to do the same and kind of work in tandem.
Is Override speed, is it like a Quicksilver character or Flash character where he can, like that? I missed that part of the conversation last time when he was describing his powers.
Oh, Chris, how do you want it to be? How do you want that power to work?
I think it's probably more like a Quicksilver sort of thing. Like he can move fast enough, but keep like the space like around him is like his own little like bubble. So like that's how like kind of like how they portrayed. Pretty sure that was Quicksilver in First Class, where he's able to like he's able to speed around like fights and stuff like that occasionally, and he can like time passes normally for him, and he's able
right,
to,
where he can actually take his finger and actually push a bullet.
Yeah.
Where it just goes off to the side. Okay.
But I also feel like rather than abusing that, that it's something that's I'm not used to, so it takes a lot out of me to do it for a longer.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah. It's almost like it would be interesting to just have you do one lap around the hangar, but okay.
The most I've done with this so far was I was following the tracker that you threw and making sure that it landed on the target. And if it didn't, I was going to try and catch it and just catch it. And then
got it. Okay.
I mean, that's the furthest that I feel like I've pushed my power.
That's one of your one of your abilities is actually good catcher. I see. So
I just noticed that actually.
Within your space-time warping, and I'm glad you chose the Quicksilver bubble thing, because that is my favourite bit in the X-Men movies, is that whole scene.
It's really well done, yeah.
It's so good. So super speed, you've got act just before it happens. So if somebody chops your head off with an axe, you can roll to use that power that you acted just before your head gets chopped off. And you're a good catcher. But I like that idea because your weakness tag on the same list, Chris, is space-time overload.
Yeah.
So he's going to need to eat 10,000 calories a day just to kind of keep his metabolism where he can, be able to do it. Yeah.
And if you find yourself in a situation while we play where you're tagging all of those powers, I might be the guy that
forces it.
Tags that there's an overload, but we'll get there when we get there.
So sure. So yeah, that being said, I guess I would probably attempt to do something like that. If I'm not getting anything on the radio chatter and I'm just a little concerned that he's going to try and go in there by himself, I'll probably take a quick lap around the perimeter and hope that I don't that I'm not seen or set anybody off as
or run out of gas.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys want to do this simultaneously, where he does the lap and are you doing the stealth mode? And
I think I'll actually let him do the lap, and then he can tell me what I'm going to run into, or if there's a certain vantage point or a weakness that I can exploit.
Okay. Well, okay.
And then he can rest.
Yeah. Right, Chris. Let's go for it. What do you want to tag for your lap? Obviously, you've got super speed.
Yeah, super speed.
Under expanding senses, you've got
perfect spatial sense.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a definite.
I don't think the other ones would apply, though.
Yep, okay, so that's a +2. So make this good.
Very good. 2d6.
That's a 9, so +2, the 11.
11. Woo! You just went outside your comfort zone.
So I guess we're calling this either investigate or sneak around. Sneak around is when you use your ability to act secretly or deceptively.
I want to go for investigate because I was asking him to reconnoiter while he was running a lap. So I want information to be given when he returns.
Yeah, I think that'd be what I would do too.
Okay, so you have 2. Is there anything specifically you want me to answer, or anything that you're particularly looking for then after your conversation, or do you want me just to give you some info?
I know it sticks out in my head as I'm looking around. I'm looking for what I think could be vantage points, because that's one of the trigger words that kind of like stuck in my head from what he said. Yeah. So I would say looking for a vantage point
or a weakness in their defense.
I was going to say, or like looking for like a maybe even like a fuse box or a circuit breaker or something like that, as a backup plan.
Okay, so you do your lap. You have basically a low building, which is the remains of what used to be the actual airport itself. There's an old dilapidated hangar which looks pretty much empty and disused. There's a tower outside of that picture. There's a tower to the side which is broken windows, but you can see that any of the people, including Bird Boy, that have any kind of ability in that kind of air travel direction are obviously using that as their place to land or launch from. While you're traveling, of course, to use your idea of the Quicksilver, you're almost like having a jog, but everything else is so slow-mo. So you're actually watching Bird Boy in mid-landing on the grass, kind of gliding down to the grass, and looks like he's going to head for the main building as everybody else is. As you run round here, you can hear or see as you pass a kind of entryway or an open window or something like that. You see that there's seems to be quite a number of people gathered in there. Some of them look like they're sitting on tables. It looks really basic. They've got some basic lighting. There seems to be wires rigged up. You can see actually as you do your first sweep, there's a wire rigged up to a street lamp. So they're basically tapping the street lights for some lighting across the kind of way. It doesn't look like they've got the place actually powered up, with just as part of the system,
Not their own power system, but they're just feeding off of the city's power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else that you were asking there? Have I answered your questions?
The vantage point again, you said just a...
Oh, sorry. Yep. The other vantage point would be, so you've got the tower in terms of for a good view, but it would be very easy to get on top of those buildings as well. There's kind of skylights and lights and some broken windows. So if you got onto the main building, you could easily look through, if you stealthed it up there, there's kind of like old fire exits and things up the side of the building. You could get onto that and you could be looking down into the main building as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I make that full lap, and I like to think if they did like a Quicksilver style montage, like passing by like one of the guards who's maybe got like a soda, like sitting by, he takes a sip as he passes by, messes with one of the guards and like just unzips his fly real quick and then just keeps moving on, just to kind of mess with people a little bit. But he gets back to postmortem.
As you're running back to postmortem, you're looking back, and the guard with the unzipped fly in slow-mo is going and slapping the other guards across the face. You can see, because you're so close to these guys, that these are animals, men.
So it's like Dr. Moreau
it's
type.
like the island of Dr. Moreau, where some of them have tusks or hair or misshapen. It looks like, as you did your sweep, there are people in different states. They're not all fully animal.
Right.
Some of them, like Bird Boy, have animal characteristics, but they're still kind of human. But in that kind of mythos kind of zone, you can see what's going on there.
So unless I missed that, I probably wasn't prepared to see that. To see that they would specifically be like animalistic, like people, aside from the Bird Boy. But like you're saying that these are guys like pig face and stuff like that, sort of.
Yeah.
Make a sanity roll.
Kind of. I mean, playing off that based on how I rolled. I don't know how you want to do it, but is there any reason why that might trip me up? Like, I feel like that I would be probably taken aback seeing something up close like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this affects it in any way.
Well, why don't you just play that out for me? You describe to me how you run in, you lift that drink to your mouth, and as you lift that drink to your mouth, you catch a glance at the first face. And by the time that you've unzipped a fly, which is slightly creepy, but by the time you've unzipped a fly and the other, you've seen that both of these guys are kind of bestial in different ways. So you describe to me what happens on your run as you're running back towards post-mortem. How does that affect you? What happens?
Spit take.
I'm like holding on to it, and like I know that if I let it go, I'm probably gonna end up getting out of my my like spatial sense. I hold it as best as I can. I'm like, it's like a kid holding his breath going through a tunnel, and it's like as soon as I get out on the other side where postmortem is, I spit it out, and I'm like coughing and just trying to catch my breath, and I'm like, animal people.
Animal people.
Can I add something to that, if that's okay? As you're kind of in that state of shock and you're spitting this stuff out and you're trying post-mortem, you see this blur, right? And you see it kind of suddenly jitter and shudder as he's coming closer, and as he's slowing down. But as you do that, you're kind of halfway in the super speed and halfway out of it, and your foot hits a brick, and you launch yourself, and literally post-mortem, as you see Flicker flying past you, kind of he's now left the ground, and he's saying, what was it you said?
Animal people.
Animal people. You crash into the wheelie bin.
Oh no!
And it rolls across the ground. So you don't really get any damage override, but just with the force of the speed, the wheelie bin's kind of sunken in, and you're kind of halfway in the wheelie bin almost. But at that point, the two guards take an interest, and they stop fighting each other, and they start walking up and looking up to see what's going on.
And scene.
And we're back in a beautiful little garden.
Nice.
And like the camera goes into the little square segments of the cottage window, and the camera goes right into the swirl in one of the segments and into the study where a little twitching Professor Mitosis and Cassandra are having a conversation. Yeah, like that. Mitosis with the
wait. We've reached 5 o'clock, so I'm going to actually give you the ending to this scene.
Go for it.
Mitosis is carefully balancing a small teacup and saucer, and his phone goes off, and he gently, doesn't want to break the china set, and he looks at his phone, and it's a text message, and it's from me, and it's like, how fast can you get to, and I give the address of the building, animal people, much fun, come now.
Very good. And then the credits roll up. Watch next week for another exciting episode of City of Mist. Well done, guys.
All right.
Good one.
So, I'll just stop the recording just now,